All right. Welcome. Thanks for joining the first DevProdEng Showdown. We're very excited about our first event. Thanks to all of you for coming. The theme for today is Java DevProd Engineering at Scale. So each, we have 4 contestants, 30 seconds on each topic, 6 topics each. And yeah, let's look at our contestants here. We got Hans, the founder of Gradle, also CEO of Gradle Inc. Needs no introduction. We got Kyle from the LinkedIn Developer Productivity Engineering and Happiness team. They support lots of languages, lots of projects, big scale, lots of data. We got Roberto from Netflix, also lots of projects, lots of data. He's from the productivity engineering team as well. Same with Simona from Fitbit, lots of programming languages, big scale, supporting lots of developers. All right, that's who we got on the panel. Let's look at our poll results, which you guys filled out for us. Okay, so programming languages, yeah, Java, Kotlin, okay, all right. That looks good, as expected for today's theme. Okay, toolchain effectiveness, all right. We see most folks think 2x or more could be more effective. That's great for productivity engineering wise goes. Good to know that. And lots of potential. All right. And the good old mono repo versus multi-repo. Lots of depends, and it's a kind of a tie. All right. Okay. Well, thanks for filling out those polls. And we will be live on Twitter and on YouTube live, and so you can watch the recording later. All right. So let's jump into the first question. So your favorite programming language when it comes to productivity and scale? Who should be crowned king? Hans, you're up first.
Yeah, I think I would crown Kotlin as the king. It's advanced and powerful, yet easy enough to be productive with for a large number of developers. Excellent Java interop, multi-platform support, including JavaScript and native. Great domain-specific language capabilities, very dear topic to me. Excellent IDE support. My only major scalability issue with Kotlin is compile and build time. This has already improved, and I'm confident it will improve further. So I wish Kotlin had been available when I was coding. It's a pretty spectacular package.
Awesome. Hans for Kotlin. Kyle, you're up.
So I think it's important to think about the JVM and the language separately. So with the JVM, you have this amazing ecosystem of dependencies, libraries you can pull from. And due to the power of the JVM, we have all these other amazing languages built on top of it. You know, Groovy, Kotlin, Scala. Those are awesome. However, when it comes down to it, I don't want an additional runtime of another language in between myself, my code, and the VMs. I'm going to go with Java.
All right. Roberto.
I think it depends on the use case. For example, I see myself using Groovy a lot for things like automating my workflows or have small scripts. And also when it comes to the syntax, it's easy for Java engineers, and I love Spock. When you write applications, I like Kotlin, but the thing with Kotlin is dependency management. What we have seen is that when you start distributing Kotlin in libraries, it could be a dependency hell at some point. So that's why I'm sticking with Groovy today.
Groovy. Wow. All right. Simona.
All right. I'll be the odd one out here. I'm going to go with Python. I find it to be the easiest language to learn, read, write. And it's easy to work with across the team. It really depends on how you write it, how you split up the code among files. So it definitely can be scalable on your team. And in terms of scalability across users, it honestly depends on the architecture of your application. It's less about the language as much as it is the architecture. And yes, you're probably going to mention the global interpreter lock, which is a problem with Python, but it can be worked around.
Nice. Going deep. All right. Yeah, love it. Okay, audience, it's up to you to vote who made the best point. We're hoping you learned something new from one of these folks. right, let's see. Hey, Hans, everybody loved your Kotlin. All right, we got a point for Hans. Okay, all right, nice one. Okay, big thumbs up for our friends at IntelliJ. They're loving this. Okay, let's go with next topic, which is about IntelliJ as well. So in terms of productivity and scale, right, is IntelliJ the greatest of all time, right? Or is it even the greatest today, right? Maybe you even want to talk about it in that way. So Simona, we'll start with you.
All right. My experience has been an interesting one. I've definitely had good experiences with IntelliJ, especially in small, like multi-repo environment, also single language. Definitely used to be my favorite. Since moving to a big monorepo at Fitbit, IntelliJ has not been the best for us. Many of us are going to something simpler like Visual Studio Code and using plugins. So it's a mix on that one.
So I guess that's a no on the greatest of all time, but still a favorite. All right. Okay, Roberto, what do you think?
I think for me is the best today. When you think about the rich plugin ecosystem, when you can hook things from your company like custom developer productivity stuff for your engineers, and also things like Code with Me now that you can even share your project and do pair programming, especially during this pandemic. It's making IntelliJ a really good product for it. And remember that being the best today doesn't mean that it's going to be the best forever. So that might change in the future. But today, for me, IntelliJ is the best tool.
Nice. I love the examples. Kyle.
Roberto took my answer a little bit. For Java-based projects, absolutely. IntelliJ is, but hands down, the best thing today. However, the pandemic has really changed the way we've been working. At LinkedIn, we're fortunate enough we have a powerful desktop computer and we have a laptop. And a lot of people have been shifting to building on their laptops. And guess what? They're slower, right? And so there's some interesting things happening with other IDEs like VS Code due to like building remotely, pairing, like Roberto mentioned. So yes, asterisk.
Okay. All right. Okay. Hans, what do you think?
IntelliJ is a fantastic IDE. It has been, I think, the best IDE of the decade, maybe also of the previous decade. What prevents me from declaring GOAT is also what Simona mentioned, right? Various performance issues with larger source repositories. And the other big question is what Kai was referring to. How is the game evolving when it comes to cloud-based IDEs, right? At what point will they dominate? And what will IntelliJ's role be in that world? That remains to be seen.
Okay, audience, who do you think made the best point? All right, let's see what the audience says. Oh, Simona, they love your answer. Okay, great. Okay, let's go to the next question. Flaky tests, it's a problem that everyone has, and when it comes to productivity and scale. So should they fail builds, yes or no, once and for all? Let's go. We're going to start with Roberto. Flaky tests.
Yes, and do not ignore disable them. Basically, we are all tempted to do it, right? Like if you go and change something and you realize that there is a flaky test or something else that is not related to your change is breaking, and the easy answer is just ignore this. But in reality, what you should do is probably what we do is time box it, try to fix it, and then get stable branch back again. And if this is not possible and you're in an urgency, yeah, you can ignore it. But we inject temporary system properties to do it in order to come back later. But yeah, at the end, I believe it's more about detecting, prioritize, and fix them.
Okay, great. Kyle, what do you think?
Flaky tests should fill your build, but here's the thing. You shouldn't have flaky tests, right? So I'm very much a purist in this regard, and I think any source of non-determinism in your build is a problem, right? And if you can't trust your test results, then what good are they? Likewise, a test that never fails, right, is also not necessarily a useful test. So while I I said I'm a purist. I know in the modern microservice world, connecting to other things you don't control, things are going to happen, and there are tools out there to say re-execute flaky tests, but you should invest time and not have them in the first place.
Okay. Hans, what do you think?
I once talked with a team who told me they don't have flaky tests because they only hire the best developers. So, but I'm not sure if I buy that. So I think flaky tests often indicate flakiness in the product you are shipping. It's not just a problem with your test picture. So you don't want to ship anything that is flaky to your customer. So there should be one quality gate where all tests have to pass before you ship. At earlier quality gates, you might, what Roberto said, you might want to have a system that let the build succeed, but puts flaky tests in a queue to be fixed according to how flaky they are. That's what I would do.
Okay. So Simona, what do you think? Flaky tests fail builds, yes or no?
I'm going to go with a no on this one. While I agree with what everybody else has said, that works really well in the ideal environment that the tests that run when you build your project are just related to your project. At Fitbit, we live in a monorepo world. Too many times we have people building a project that ended up failing due to flaky tests in a completely different project. So too much overhead is occurring to the engineers and too much frustration. So I'll go with no.
Okay. All right. Okay, audience, what do you guys think? Who gave the best points here on flaky tests? All right, Kyle. Hey, okay.
Hi.
Kyle's on the board. All right. Well, let's jump to the next one. Okay, this is something that everyone is familiar with. COVID and work from home. What did we learn about productivity? Was it good for productivity, bad for productivity? You didn't have a commute, but you had kids running around. What do you guys think? Let's start with Kyle.
Oh, wow. So where do we begin? As I alluded to before on the IDE question, we found that people have been building code differently. And that's led us at LinkedIn to change our investments, right? Shift things around, building more tooling to help people working from home, say doing distributed execution, things of that nature. I think also everyone will agree, we've also been working more, right? So I want to think like, what are our statistics from a year and a half ago versus now? People are working 10-hour, 12-hour days instead of 10. Things don't necessarily balance.
So, yeah, was it good or bad? You didn't. Looking for a straight answer here.
People building remotely on laptops, you have network latency. You also have just slower CPUs that hurt some of our statistics. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Hans, you're up. COVID, work from home.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, certain things we could no longer compensate efficiency flaws in the tool chain, right? Said, okay, there's something inefficient, but we just compensate for massive network bandwidth, right? So it has forced us to be to work on multiple dimensions in the tool chain, but overall it was a net negative when it came to productivity. Yeah, people were working more, but they were more exhausted, right? So I don't think that is a sustainable world. And us as a remote company, we now fully understand how important is it also to meet in person and how much we're missing that from time to time at least. So in that respect was also not good.
Okay, so no from Hans. Simona, what do you think?
It depends. I've seen both. I've seen engineers end up working more and being more productive, but I've seen the very opposite. People just aren't as productive as home. They end up working too much at the beginning and then they get burnt out. And then, of course, you have parents who have kids around the house who keep interrupting meetings or something that they're focusing on. So for some, it was good. For some, it was bad.
Okay. For you personally, good or bad?
Oh, I'd say bad for me.
Okay. Roberto, you're last up.
I think everyone made a good point about the technology limitations, but I will go with definitely bad. From the human side, the reality is that we are going through this and doing our best. So in my opinion, it's difficult to measure productivity when everyone is living a different reality, right? For example, in my case, I'm always thinking what's happening with my family and friends back in Mexico. Some people might not even able to put working hours because they are dealing with the situation. So I don't think it's fair today to measure productivity the same way for everyone.
Okay, great. All great answers. Audience, what do you guys think? Okay, let's see the results. Roberto, yeah, there you go. Great answer. Now Roberto's on. We got a four-way tie over here. This is getting exciting. Nice. All right. Okay, let's go to one of my favorite topics, and I'm sure you guys all have to deal with this: measuring engineering productivity success. What's the best way to do it? Is there a way to do it? Everybody's still trying to figure this thing out. So Hans, you go first.
Why do we care about developer productivity? I would ask that in the first place. So on the one hand, companies want happier developers, right? And they also want to ship software more efficiently. So I think you need surveys to indicate how happy your developers are with every part of your tool chain. At the same time, even if they're reasonably happy, there might be still huge opportunities to improve productivity. So you need a fully instrumented tool chain to discover those. You don't want to be just reactive on how your developers are feeling. So you need both perspectives.
All right, Kyle, you're next.
I'm going to give a pre-pandemic kind of Freakonomics answer, which is tie into your company's procurement department and see how much coffee and tea you're spending because people are going to take coffee breaks while the code is compiling, right? So that's kind of the soft side that Hans mentioned about tracking surveys and real-time feedback like we're doing at LinkedIn. However, every developer's environment tends to be different. So for the tooling and the stuff like that, I suggest tracking things on the CI environment where you have a little bit more control and you get more consistent results.
Okay, I was looking a little bit more of details of what you'd measure and whatnot, but I'll take it. Okay, all right, Roberto, what do you think? What are the metrics you guys use?
I think it's a combination. So definitely you need to measure in order to optimize. So we measure time you spend resolving dependencies, compiling, running tests, etc. But also you need to also take account for support burden. So for example, we do a Slack support and we track to the tools. Like basically every thread has emojis to a particular tool, and then we analyze this in Tableau and see how the support burden is going up or down on a particular tool. And also interview people to make sure that we are not introducing more complexity and basically detrimental for the productivity.
Got it. Simona, how do you guys do it? What have you found interesting?
Well, we primarily use iteration as well as just how much code gets deployed every day. But here's how I measure it personally, even though it's not formalized, is how many requests for support come in every day in our Slack channel. Because ultimately, the more frustrated tickets we have, clearly developers are unhappy. So that's my way. Kind of surveys and personal reactions.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, audience, what do you think? Who made the best point? The drum roll, Simona. All right. Yeah, I guess support tickets and Slack requests for the win. Simona in the lead. Okay, let's jump to the last question here, right? How much does build time pain need to get? At what level when you start really needing to look at engineering productivity and sound the alarms, right? So let's go with Simona.
Oh, what a funny question. For Fitbit, I think it would be anywhere above 1.5 hours. This sounds absurd, but our monorepo, when it builds the entire thing, that's how long it takes. It's a sad world. So I would like to see that lowered, and I would like to see engineers only have to build their projects. and really limited to 10, 15 minutes. An hour and a half is crazy.
Okay, Roberto, what about you guys?
I don't think there is no magic number. Like, the reality is that every project is unique because we have multi-repo set up. And what we try to do is measure the short feedback cycles, right? Like, for example, as an engineer, if your project takes 1 minute running a particular test and that starts increasing and you need to go and do something else, you might be doing context switching. So we try to do enhancements on the IDE and the build in terms of like reducing that time. So for someone to run their particular project, but it's difficult to say, oh, it's going to be 1 minute because that's not real. It will depend on the project.
Okay. Kyle, what about you guys?
So there's no hard, fast number you can put on it. Like every build should take less than 5 minutes. Well, if you have 10 million lines of code, it might take more. The fallacy here is you would never, as a building a product, you would say, okay, the product's good. I'm done. I'm going to walk away. But the tendency for productivity engineering is that we solve a problem. It's very transactional. And then, okay, we fix the build and now we're going to walk away. And just as you continuously invest in your product, you need to continuously invest in your build logic as well.
Okay, I love it. Hans, to wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't like the mindset of the question, right? I think we really need to get out of that cycle of reacting when things turn really bad, and as Kai said, and then move away and wait until people are seriously unhappy again, right? It reflects an immature state of our industry, right? Every other industry is continuously monitoring and optimizing their production process, and that's where we need to move to as a software industry, right? And it should be primarily proactive, not reactive. If everyone is super happy with a 30-second build time and I can get it down to 10 seconds, why on earth wouldn't I try to do that, right?
Okay, yeah, it's never fast enough. All right, audience, who made the best point? Let's get a drum roll going on over here. It's exciting. Hey, Hans, okay, we got a tie. Woo! This is exciting. Okay, perfect. And we got 3 minutes left too. All right, we got a tie with Hans and Simona, and time to break out the tiebreaker question. I'm excited that we get to use this one. All right, this was in a famous TV show. Some guy broke up with his girlfriend because of tabs versus spaces. So tabs versus spaces, Hans versus Simona. Well, Simona, why don't you go first?
Oh, yeah, I'm already there. I'm going to go with tabs. It's easier, it's faster. You can set up your IDE or editor to set however many spaces you want. It's the easiest.
Okay, Hans.
Yeah,
15 seconds.
Likewise. I go with tabs. It's easier to adapt. It's easier to do. The only thing is I struggle with it with certain editors that don't adapt properly to it. But in general, I would go with tabs.
Okay, both said tabs. I don't know who made the best points. And Simona, the winner. Congratulations, amazing. And you get your 15 seconds of fame, Simona.
Developer productivity is the best team to be on. You get to influence everybody and you get to make everybody happy. I think if you care about this, you should join the developer productivity team at your company.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for everyone, and thank you for joining. We were hoping you'd learn something new around productivity engineering and be entertained as well. Thanks to LinkedIn engineering and Netflix and Fitbit engineering teams, and of course Hans for allowing all the panelists to join. Our next event is Android theme, and it's going to be March 11th, sorry. And we hope to see you there. Follow us on Twitter for more info, and we'll see you next time.